He says, let's do better on this. What can communities do to ensure that safe, affordable, long-term housing, transitional housing, and vital community services are provided for low-income families and individuals?
Well, that is a great question, because in that question it actually indicates how complex this problem is. So we talk about homelessness as if it's one thing, but homelessness isn't one thing, it's not one person, it's not one people. People get to homelessness by a variety of paths. We have folks who are homeless and single. We have folks who are one medical illness away from homelessness. We have folks who are one job loss away from homelessness. We have families. We have folks with illness. So the problems that lead to homelessness are complex. The solutions need to be equally robust and complex to address different people and different needs. So community providers are incredibly important to helping us, working with us. We have a large number of services, and the mayor has requested a 90-day review of our homelessness programs. I'm involved with that with our Human Resources Administration Commissioner, Steve Banks, and with First Deputy Mayor Tony Shores, and we've been working together. We'll be rolling out some recommendations. But what can you do? It can be as simple as taking care of your neighbor. It can be as simple as calling 311. It can be as simple as getting information to your congregations and your families about what are the support services. It can be as simple as letting the people know that if they're on the verge of losing their homes, that they should call 311, because we have legal services available to help keep people in their home, to help prevent unfair evictions. So it can be as simple as giving us a call and letting us know what are some of the suggestions that you have to help us as we try to struggle against this in our great city.
Well, thank you. We have two persons here that provide homeless services to our community, and they want to follow up with you with specific policy recommendations, but I want to recognize them. They operate large services. They're large service providers for the homeless here in the Bronx. There's NICA, Executive Director Eddie Laguerre. Will you stand up, please? And there's Victor Rivera from the Bronx Town, also operating homeless centers for HIV and other residences. So they're here, and certainly they have very specific recommendations. But that's one of the things that we would like to see in your administration, and certainly the mayor has tried to do this, and we want to encourage it to expand the voices, right? Because sometimes the voices from the people on the ground that are actually doing the services don't get to that level. Okay, don't get to that level. How about that? Is that better? How about now? Better? Yes. So we want to bring some of those voices at that policy level, so we can have that input from the grassroots. Okay, there's another question that came in that says, what vehicle do we have in place to reconcile families with missing loved ones, specifically ages between 22 to 63, who are currently excluded in existing law? If there's a nuance to that Pastor Q English, some of the questions came to her, but do you understand the question?
So I'm not sure I completely understand the question. Honestly, that sounds like it might be a question that would be better. So if Elizabeth, can you raise your hand? If somebody can sort of get with Elizabeth, we will make sure to get back with you so that we fully understand the question. I want to make sure that we're not disclosing anybody's private information, and we'll make sure to have a conversation with you.
Okay, I want to just read it again so you'll register. What vehicles do we have in place to reconcile families with missing loved ones, specifically ages between 22 and 63, who are currently excluded in existing law? So maybe Pastor Q, you can talk to him. We have one more question that came in. Number 4, do you plan to bring runaway and homeless youth shelters to the outer boroughs like the Bronx and Brooklyn? Right now, our kids are made to travel to Manhattan for a shelter bed where they are often turned away because of lack of beds. We need beds for homeless kids in our community, and we need the city to help facilitate shelter space because current reimbursements are inadequate to cover capital costs for opening shelters. What is your plan to work with DYCD, runaway, and homeless youth services, and the courts to ensure that youth who are made homeless because of dispute with their families or when the court issues an order of protection, that they have a safe place to stay?
All right, so you saved all the easy questions for me, huh? So, and I'm going to have Lincoln raise his hand. So really, these are some of the issues. And Lincoln, did you want to address some of that?
I'd be happy to. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Can I shout? All right. My Brooklyn voice isn't loud enough. Huh? Good evening. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. My name's Lincoln Resser. I work with the Deputy Mayor over in the Mayor's office. And since Mayor de Blasio has come to office, he has committed to tripling the number of beds for runaway and homeless youth in the city of New York. And we have added over 100 beds each of the past 2 years, and we're committed to adding 100 beds for runaway and homeless youth each year for the next 3 years. So that will be 500 new beds for runaway and homeless youth. Often these are youth who have been kicked out of their homes, who are LGBT youth, and we are very eager to identify new locations here in the Bronx and in Brooklyn and other boroughs. So please let us know if you have ideas and options for potential sites. We'll put you in touch with our colleagues in the Department of Youth and Community Development. This has been a major priority for our administration. We want to make sure that our young people have a good and quality place to live. Thank you.
And I just wanted to expand that not only for the youth population, but sometimes we have families in shelters in the Bronx, and they're getting up at 5 in the morning to take their children to school in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Right? So those are some of the things that need attention, coordination, because it puts a tremendous amount of strain on the families.
No, you're absolutely right, and all of these issues are, in fact, we're contemplating all of these issues in our 90-day review. It is a big city. There are many moving pieces, and we're working with communities to try to find solutions that work.
I'm going to just ask probably just one or two of these questions, because some of these were covered already in your presentation, so we can give an opportunity for those that are in the audience to ask questions. How can we effectively meet the challenge of growing numbers of seniors with limited resources in the immigrant communities of New York City?
I am going to, so that is a really important question, both in terms of seniors and the immigrants. So we have Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs that really sort of helping us with these policy issues. Senior housing is a huge priority for this administration. As you heard, the unrolling of the retirement savings plan is for future seniors, so that folks are safe. But senior housing is a huge issue, and I don't know if any of the other city members want to talk to some of the other issues.
Okay, my last question on this someone was just basically wanted to know how many shelters do we have in our Bronx community?
Off the top of my head, I don't. So, Lincoln, how many shelters do we have? I don't remember off the top of my head in the Bronx.
We'll get you.
Okay, so we'll get you that.
Okay, well let us open it up to the audience.
Well, actually, I'm sorry, just before, if I could interrupt for just a moment. We weren't sure she was going to be able to make it, but I am very happy to say that the Honorable Councilwoman Vanessa Gibbs has been able to join us. And she's stepping quietly. Welcome. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, good evening to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to LPAC. Thank you so much to Reverend Dr. Rivera, and it's good to see you, and congratulations, Deputy Mayor. Good to see you, Pastor Q English, and to all of you who are here. I'm your council member, Vanessa Gibson. Deep apologies for being so late. I had a long day of meetings back to back. And I see folks I was meeting with. How did you get here quicker than I did? I was meeting with planning earlier. But certainly I thank our Deputy Mayor certainly for coming to the Bronx, to our community, to really talk about the Mayor's State of the City address. and obviously a very ambitious and bold plan for the city of New York. Today was our very first day of the budget process. We started with the Mayor's Office of Management and Budget, OMB, and the Comptroller, and tomorrow we will continue. Every city agency will come before the City Council this month. So if you don't see me in the Bronx, I'm at City Hall. But I am grateful, and looking at, obviously the State of the City address, which is the Mayor's very ambitious vision, but also at the Mayor's preliminary budget, which has been put forth, there is a lot of investment being made that will really make a significant difference. And for those of you that know, I chair the Committee on Public Safety, so I'm obviously very supportive that we are not only increasing our further support of the NYPD in training and technology, the Neighborhood Coordination Partnership Program, the NCO, which we have here at the 4-4. We are expanding and putting $3 million into ShotSpotter, which is the gun detection program. We are also increasing our ambulance and EMS tours so that we can, obviously reduce the response times when we respond to emergencies, which is very important for us. Obviously, as a city, we're going to continue to focus on summer youth, which is something we all care about, all year round youth employment program. I see our borough commissioner for the Parks Department and Transportation. We're putting in more money for DOT for Vision Zero, as well as all of you that talk to me about PET officers, Park Enforcement Patrol officers. Yes, we're putting in more money for PET officers because it's extremely important. There is a lot, and obviously we are very, very committed to housing for seniors, formerly homeless residents, those that are aging out of the foster care system, our veterans who we must make sure we take care of. There is a lot that we're going to do this year, and so I appreciate your presence tonight. It is very important. You are an important part of this conversation. As a stakeholder, a community resident, an advocate, a member of our clergy, a small business owner, please understand that we must work together. We have to hear from you, and that's why our deputy mayor is here, because you are a part of the process. As this budget process plays itself out, there is a lot of opportunity to have your voices heard in social services and human services, quality of life, public safety, higher education, sanitation, transportation, parks. I know it all because I'm on finance, so I have to go to every single hearing. So I can tell you most, if not all, of the budget numbers that I memorized. But it's really important for me as chair of public safety to make sure that we're focusing and working with the NYPD on a lot of community access and community engagement programs like the NCO, like other programs that really make a difference in building our communities. We are very excited because we have 14 officers in the NCO program here in the 4-4, which is great because every resident must get to know their NCO officer. That is what they're there to do. Many of you know them as beat cops, right? Because we haven't learned NCO just yet, but we'll get it. And certainly it is our effort to make sure that we're focusing on engagement in building partnerships and having consistency, which is something that we want to make sure that we focus on. It's very important. So I thank all of you. I also want to put in a plug for IDNYC, the Immigration NYC Municipal ID program. We are at a record level. Over 700,000 New Yorkers have an IDNYC card. I have one myself because it's important that we promote opportunities to make sure that residents understand that they are a part of the fabric of our city. And you may not be able to get an ID from motor vehicles, but you can certainly get one from us in the city of New York. And so we encourage you to help us. Small businesses and entrepreneurship opportunities, MWBE. We're focusing on worker safety and construction safety, right? We're going through the Jerome plan, so we're working with planning and all of the stakeholders on that. So we're doing a lot of work, and I really thank you again for being here, and certainly look forward to working with you. Thank you once again. I look forward to your questions, your comments, your concerns. But once again, thank you for the opportunity to greet you, and I look forward to hearing you.
Wow, that's a lot. Thank you.
That was all from my head. That's good.
That means you're really in it. Or it's inside of you. I'm actually have to do a shaking because the questions had to be submitted, and I'm going to follow protocol, so I'm not taking open questions, okay? But I do want to acknowledge Chief Cocoon. Would you stand? Our chief is here in the front. And we also have Inspector Mullen. Would you stand? And if you don't know him, you need to get to know him, and you need to start forming those partnerships that are crucial for the safety of our city. Okay, so this question was submitted, going back to our Deputy Mayor. Here's my over 50 eyes playing games on me. Will the income guidelines get lowered for the affordable housing units?
Is that I'm going to.
Who can answer that for me?
Yeah.
Come on up. You didn't know you were going to be talking tonight, did you?
Good evening. I'm Bill Weinstein. I'm Director of Bronx Planning for HPD. We have various programs that provide financing in order to build new affordable housing. It's been very, very active in the Bronx for many years now, and we continue to do so. Even though the amount of city-owned land is diminishing, developers continue to build, and so we provide financing to do that. For many years, almost everything that was built, new construction in what I'll say is the South and the Southwest Bronx, were what was categorized as low income up to a certain level. We used the area median income system, AMI, and it was up to 60%. And the reason for that is because the federal low-income housing tax credit program, which is the #1 tool for building housing and affordable housing in the country, that's the maximum. So almost every building for several years that was built was at that level, 60%. Well, that wasn't good enough because that was, well, it's good for many people, it's not good for enough people. And what this administration did right away, as soon as the change came in, was to reevaluate our financing programs. And our low-income program now has requirements for that certain numbers of units in each of these buildings have to be lower. So when someone uses the program, what we call our low-income program, to build a new building, they can't just do it all at that 60% level. They have to have some number of units at the 30%, some at the 40%, and some at the 50%. They can still have 60, they can even have a little more than that, because income diversity is also a major goal, to have a variety of people in buildings and to provide new housing opportunities for as many different people as possible. But without question, those buildings that use that program have to provide units for people who are even lower than had been done in the past. And we continue to push that. And many of the buildings that are now being built in the West Bronx and the Southwest Bronx are meeting those requirements.
Thank you. Can I just have the rest of her staff just come up here, so if you have to grab a mic, you can, just in some row. Right now, realtors are having a difficult time accepting people with the linked housing subsidy. What can we do about that?
So this is one of the things that I was talking about in terms of calling 311 and getting connected to the services. We have added a number of legal services, a number of attorneys for free to help people make sure that landlords can't illegally turn down vouchers and that people can't be evicted for inappropriate reasons. So please call 311. We have really enhanced the legal services available. We want to keep people in their homes. This is part of our homelessness prevention effort. So not just catching people after they've become homeless, but really trying to make sure that we can keep people in their homes in the first place.
There are a number of undocumented persons in our community. They are so-called hiding in the shadows, but they have health issues, including mental health. What, if any, plans are there to address the situation?
Well,
undocumented.
Yeah. As part of Thrive NYC, which has many initiatives being rolled out, and involves our partners such as our health and hospitals and also our Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. your immigrant status is not relevant to the services that are available. We will not be turning people away who are needing services based on their immigration status. So Thrive NYC is for all of New Yorkers.
Okay, thank you. We have pre-kindergarten during the regular school year. Then when the summer comes, a lot of people struggle, a lot of parents struggle even more. Is there a way we can create extended programming?
So there are various levels so there are different kinds of programs. So for part of the pre-K, and I don't know if there's somebody else who wants to speak specifically, but for pre-K, you should make sure that you understand what your needs are. Some of them go through the summer, some of them are on the school year, some of them go till 6, some of them only go to 3. So there's a variety of different kinds of pre-K available to meet specific family needs. So if you go to our website or you call 311 to get connected to somebody who can try to figure out what's the best option for your family's needs.
You're not ready?
We're actually doing it the proper way. So we have only 5 more minutes. This one that was submitted, unfortunately, I don't see a question regarding the New York State driver's license for undocumented New York City immigrant population. So I'm going to have to pass on that. Is there any more that are written? Any more questions that are written that you'd like to submit at this time?
I wanted to expand for the director of the Bronx Planning Commission to expand on the AMI thing. Because one of the critiques of indigenous community groups is that the formula that goes into that AMI includes Westchester County and includes some of the surrounding areas that have a higher level of income, which tends then to raise the whole city income. So is that being looked at as far as that not taking those areas out of the city that reflect the higher income, causing then the AMI not to truly reflect a community of the community's context?
I'm not certain that the area itself can be changed like that, because it's the federal government who establishes these standard metropolitan areas all over the country. But the idea of what type of levels and categories to use in the city is something that is always being looked at. I will just emphasize, though, again, that it's the eligibility for a program for a building that really is what matters. So, yes, 100% of an AMI for New York may be somewhat higher because it includes the surrounding counties, but we don't make eligibility for the buildings at 100% of the AMI. We make it, in case of like the low-income program, 30, 40, 50, 60%. So as long as those types of eligibilities were established by using lower levels, that does help to serve the people. If the AMI itself, the median, 100% was lower, then it's possible that the other amount was lower, except that would also involve then a lot more subsidy going in. So again, the answer was that in the meantime, by lowering the eligibility for parts of these buildings, we are establishing opportunities for more people.
To our councilperson and to the planning board and to other community groups, could we influence the city in saying, for this particular neighborhood, these are the needs that we have, and we want you to take that priority into consideration, not the AMI that's being kind of, in a sense, falsely lifted by these higher incomes that really don't reflect New York City.
We do that anyway, regardless of the AMI itself. So if somebody comes in and they ask us for financing to build a building at a certain location, so we take into account what is the neighborhood, what type of eligibility should be available for that area. So we're not going to say, for example, in a very low-income part of the Bronx, we're not going to say that we're going to do buildings at 150% of the AMI, for example, because that's not going to serve the indigenous people, as you say. And so we do, location by location, make these determinations all the time.
Okay, this is our final question for the evening. The greatest concentration of mental illness is in the shelters. Why not place 250 mental health providers on site, at the various shelters? 500 shelters. So did you mean 500?
And it's 500 shelters.
Right.
250 mental health providers in the city.
So the issue of mental health, mental health illness in our shelters is in fact one of the issues that's being looked at in this 90-day review, thinking about how it is that we best meet the needs of our residents and what are the best ways to sort of make sure that people have access, that the providers have access to the mental health services to serve their clients, and that the clients have access to the mental health services. So it's a critically important issue, how we structure that in terms of screening and where the providers are and are there mobile teams. Those are questions that are not answered completely yet, but are clearly part of our responsibility to make sure that we have services for people who need them, including in our shelters.
Thank you. Just read my one page.
Okay, I want to say, can you give yourselves a hand? Give her. And thank you, Deputy Mayor, for coming back home. And we know you've been thrown into a baptism of fire, but thank you for making this your first stop, and we know it won't be your last. And thank you, City Councilwoman Vanessa Gibson, for always doing what you do. Thank you. So we're going to have closing remarks, and we know it's 8 o'clock. We want to be sensitive to the time, but I'm going to have Reverend Dr. Raymond Rivera close us out.
I just want to say thank you for coming. We want to continue this dialogue with the city. We think community government is the best type of government, and as much decentralized government as we can have, bottom-up government, that will just make the administration more successful. So thank you for coming, and good night.